Mayor Eric Johnson from changing his party affiliation from Democrat to Republican.
Hundreds of thousands of people walking across the border. You have allowed this to happen. The photograph that was before.
You signed this letter March 19th of 2020. That was 3 years ago.
They correspond to how many thousands of dollars the immigrants owe the cartels.
Senator Cruz's rebuke on gun control. Senator Cruz is firing shots, figuratively speaking, directly at Democrats in the Senate. He's got a bone to pick, and it's all about gun control. In his eyes, the Democrats are messing up big time by putting all their energy into gun control efforts while turning a blind eye to the real troublemakers, violent criminals. Picture this. Cruz is standing up, finger pointed, and he's calling out what he sees as a major contradiction. While the Dems are waving the banner for gun control, Cruz accuses them of completely dropping the ball on dealing with the folks causing the real mayhem, the violent criminals who keep communities on edge. According to Cruz, it's a topsy-turvy world where the Democrats are more interested in disarming law-abiding citizens than actually getting down and dirty with the bad guys. He's not holding back, saying it's downright unfair that they're putting their focus on taking away Joe citizens' right to bear arms, instead of locking up those who are actually causing harm. But that's not all. Cruz is not just stopping at the accusation game. He's got another ace up his sleeve. The Democrats are, in his words, practically aligned with policies that let violent criminals off the hook. It's a pretty strong statement, but Cruz isn't one to mince words.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Director, in 2012, John Spencer, Chief of Firearms Technology Branch.
Whether intentional or unintentional, of Biden administration officials and anti-gun advocates and even the president himself.
Yesterday they had 7,000. So you know what they did? They had to release hundreds of people, just release them into the community.
You did not disclose this letter to the committee. Why did you not disclose it to the committee?
You get to answer questions. You don't get to give speeches.
Senator, I served as a federal prosecutor.
All right, you're refusing to answer.
For him, the proof is in the pudding, or in this case, the policies. He's pointing fingers at what he sees as the Democrats' support for measures that, according to Cruz, release these offenders back into society, almost like they're getting a free pass to cause more trouble. In Cruz's eyes, this whole scenario doesn't add up. It's like focusing on the sprinkles while ignoring the cake. Sure, gun control might have its place in discussions, but not at the expense of dealing with the root of the problem, the criminals themselves. So there you have it. Cruz isn't happy with the Democrats' priorities. For him, it's about time they shift the spotlight from gun control back to where it really matters, nabbing those troublemakers and making sure they face the consequences of their actions. Democratic Party's alleged shift in ideology. Senator Cruz isn't holding back on his thoughts about the Democratic Party's ideological shift. In his eyes, it's like watching a tectonic plate shift from the center to the extreme left. According to Cruz, the days of moderate Democrats in Congress are as extinct as the dodo bird. He's banging the drum, claiming that nowadays it's all about radical left-leaning policies with no room for those more centrist views that used to be part and parcel of the party. He's got a pretty strong opinion about how the Democrats perceive cities. It's like they're wielding them as testing grounds for liberal ideas, rather than nurturing them as hotspots for opportunity and free enterprise. Cruz sees this as a fundamental misdirection, as if they're prioritizing experimentation over fostering an environment where businesses can thrive and people can chase their dreams. For Cruz, it's like watching a movie on fast forward, witnessing this apparent transformation of the Democratic Party's core. The shift, as he describes it, seems to be veering away from the traditional center, where compromise and moderation used to be the order of the day, towards what he sees as this new, more extreme left. Whether you're nodding along with Cruz or raising an eyebrow in skepticism, there's no denying that he's drawing a pretty stark line in the sand.
Hundreds of thousands of people walking across the border. You have allowed this to happen. The photograph that was before.
Anything that was responsive
I guess
to the
if
Senate.
you have no memory, you didn't consider it that big a deal, I'm assuming?
They correspond to how many thousands of dollars the immigrants owe the cartels.
Senator, you are
Was she telling the
so
truth?
profoundly disrespecting.
Was she telling
my
the truth?
22 years.
According to him, the Democratic Party has hit the gas pedal on liberalism, and the more centrist ideas seem to be left in the rearview mirror. So, for Cruz, this isn't just about policy differences. It's about a seismic shift in the fundamental values and direction of the party. and he's not one to keep quiet about it. Whether this shift is as pronounced as he claims, or just a matter of perspective, one thing's for sure: Cruz is sounding the alarm on what he sees as a significant change in the Democratic Party's ideological landscape. Mayor Eric Johnson's testimonial. Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson's political flip from lifelong Democrat to card-carrying Republican has become a talking point for Senator Cruz, and he's not missing a beat in highlighting Johnson's reasons for this dramatic shift. Cruz is wielding Johnson's departure from the Democratic Party like a smoking gun, emphasizing that it's not just any ordinary Joe making the switch. Here's a man who's been entrenched in Democratic beliefs for most of his political life, and now he's jumping ship. According to Cruz, Johnson's reason for this political about-face stemmed from his disappointment in local Democratic leaders failing to keep their house in order. Johnson apparently pulled the ripcord due to what he saw as a failure to prioritize two crucial aspects: public safety and fiscal restraint. For Johnson, these weren't just talking points or political jargon. They were real issues hitting home in Dallas. Cruz is echoing Johnson's sentiments, painting a picture of a city where the Democratic leaders fell short in ensuring safety and managing the purse strings effectively. Cruz is using Johnson's switch as a rallying cry, shouting from the rooftops that if a prominent figure like Johnson, who is deeply embedded in the Democratic fabric, felt compelled to switch sides, then something significant must have gone awry with the party.
Mayor Eric Johnson from changing his party affiliation from Democrat to Republican.
Yeah, longtime Democrat Mayor Eric Johnson is already facing some heat after he announced Friday that he is now a Republican.
That if anybody has aspirations for statewide office in Texas, it is more advantageous to seek that as a Republican.
Mayor Eric Johnson previously served in the Texas House representing Dallas as a Democrat.
Now, the announcement came in an op-ed that Mayor Johnson wrote for the Wall Street Journal, in which he gives his explanation.
It's almost like Cruz is holding up Johnson's shift as a cautionary tale, a warning sign that the Democrats might be losing touch with issues that truly matter to their constituents. Johnson's move, according to Cruz, is symbolic of a larger disconnect within the Democratic Party, especially at the local level. So for Cruz, Johnson's decision to change allegiances isn't just a political blip on the radar. It's a loud declaration that the Democrats might have lost their grip on crucial governance matters, and Cruz isn't shy about using it as evidence to support his arguments against the Democratic Party's approach. Contrasting priorities. Senator Cruz is firing away at the Democrats, aiming to expose what he perceives as a glaring discrepancy in their priorities. He's not mincing words, putting their focus on gun control under a sharp microscope while accusing them of turning a blind eye to the more pressing issues. According to Cruz, it's a head-scratcher why the Democrats seem to have their sights set solely on gun control, while in his view, neglecting the thorny issues revolving around violent criminals and the justice system. It's like they're fixated on a singular issue, gun control, while ignoring the root causes of crime. Cruz isn't stopping at just questioning their priorities. He's lobbing accusations, claiming that the Democrats are more interested in showboating than actually rolling up their sleeves and tackling the nitty-gritty problems. He's branding their actions as mere virtue signaling, empty gestures designed to look good rather than taking effective action. Furthermore, Cruz isn't pulling punches when he accuses the Democrats of offering half-baked government programs as solutions to complex societal problems. In his view, these proposals are like band-aids on bullet wounds, superficial fixes that do little to address the underlying issues at play. For Cruz, it's frustrating to see the Democrats harping on about gun control while seemingly neglecting the deeper, more multifaceted problems that contribute to crime and public safety. It's as if they're pushing a singular agenda without considering the broader spectrum of challenges faced by communities. He's painting a picture of a party more interested in optics and surface-level solutions rather than delving into the messy, complicated issues that require genuine attention and comprehensive strategies. Cruz's argument is straightforward. The Democrats' focus on gun control might make for good headlines, but it's a distraction from the real heavy lifting needed to address the systemic problems plaguing society. And he's not holding back in calling them out on what he sees as misplaced priorities and shallow attempts at problem solving. Critique of Democratic policies and nominations. Senator Cruz is on the warpath, taking aim at the Biden administration and the Democrats' policy choices with no holds barred. He's pointing fingers at their nominations to key positions in the U.S. Department of Justice, slamming these picks for their alleged advocacy to abolish the police. For Cruz, this isn't just a difference in opinion, it's a red flag waving high, signaling what he sees as a dangerous direction for law enforcement and public safety. But that's not all. Cruz isn't stopping there. He's throwing more fuel on the fire, accusing the Democrats of dropping the ball on critical issues like carjacking, riots, and the consequences of prosecutors releasing violent criminals back onto the streets. In his eyes, it's like they're turning a blind eye to the very real and pressing issues that are affecting communities, choosing to sweep these problems under the rug instead of addressing them head-on. And it doesn't end there. Cruz is pointing fingers at the Democrats for their alleged hand in hindering efforts to secure the borders. He's painting a picture of chaos, a floodgate open to illegal immigrants and drugs like fentanyl streaming into the country, contributing to what he describes as a public health crisis.
The Biden administration has sped up their processing so that they can process an illegal immigrant in about 2 minutes. Has the crisis at our southern border made Americans less safe, yes or no? They are sending 40 or more buses a day, full buses, full of illegal immigrants.
You signed this letter March 19th of 2020. That was 3 years ago.
For Cruz, these aren't just policy disagreements, they're fundamental concerns about the safety, security, and well-being of the nation. He's not shying away from putting the blame squarely on the Democrats' doorstep, suggesting that their decisions and alleged negligence have far-reaching consequences, impacting communities and the country as a whole. In essence, Cruz is painting a grim picture of what he sees as a series of missteps and misguided policies by the Democrats. From their nominations to their alleged inaction on critical issues, he's sounding the alarm, warning of the dangers he believes these decisions pose to the nation's safety, security, and overall well-being. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.